Welcome to David Boles' Human Meme. In this podcast, we'll analyze ubiquitous distribution channels. If you're a writer or a publisher or a content propagator, you want all of your content everywhere and accessible on every device and in all forms and functions at all times. Content wants to be ubiquitous and flow like water, everywhere, all the time, into every crevice and ocean and pond, and that's fine, as long as you are in control of what you publish and where. But that can easily become a problem if you're not careful. Let's take this Human Meme podcast as an example. Some argue a podcast should only be available via iTunes subscription, so you, as the publisher, can track it in one place and only one place. Then you know all of your numbers. I get that, but I also get the idea that listeners may not want to be limited to a single channel of opportunity. Listeners may want to use Stitcher or SoundCloud or iTunes or Outcast FM to listen to you. Then what? Many of those services pull their content for your podcast directly from iTunes. So is it better to be in one place or 1,000 places? Your content is the same, so what's the difference? Aesthetic control of how your podcast is presented may be important. I argue an aesthetic you cannot control is not something you should worry about. People don't usually consciously create ugly things, so concentrate on your content and let the propagation design evolve without your direct input. If you have a podcast or a blog, anyone can pull your RSS feed and publish what you're doing, putting it out there, monetizing it behind your back, using it for their own benefit, because that's the idea of really simple syndication. It's everywhere. It's ubiquitous because you want to be easily accessible and ready for presentation. Now, the money people will say one place, $1. I also understand that, but there are ways you can monetize your content in the middle of the process of distribution. So I say let people find you as they wish to find you, on their terms, not yours. Just offer what you're thinking for the taking, and hope that what you're throwing catches on within someone, somewhere. Newspapers. Newspapers are a fascination for me. Are they paper or digital? Are they easily distributable or not? The transition from paper to virtual industrial ink is a difficult one to mark because propagation is uncontrollable. Nobody really likes advertising or obtrusive paywalls. But with paper, the publisher controls the entire experience. Take it or leave it, your money, your subscription. However, when things go digital, the experience of paper unravels, because the power is now in the reader's eye and not the publisher's hand. Ad blockers rule. There are ways for readers to get around paywalls and to crush any cookies you might send to lock them out and lock them into your paywall. But information in an electronic form is meant to be free and flowing and dynamic, and to try to control that essence of the experience is to tempt the loathing and hatred of 1,000 suns. The very fire of the people you're trying to capture in your hand and save for later as a spark. Education. Is education as we know it ubiquitous in distribution? We like to think so, but the diploma isn't yours until it is purchased and paid for in time spent in a chair. Is an in-person education the same experience as an online-only course? Yes. There is active dynamism in the beating hearts sharing the same room. But there can also be the same sort of humanism in an online course if it is taught right. Video and text chat can help make the online experience larger, but the point of going virtual and online is that you do not have to be synced in real time with anyone else. It's your time, your study, your mind, and it belongs only to you in a context you set and define. That's great for effort consolidation, but not so great for community building. Learning requires dealing with multiple personalities in a lot of different containers. Some we recognize, some we don't. And that's the point of an education, to accept people as they are and who they are. And if you know the human fact that everyone is broken somewhere, that we are all shattered in some small or massive way, then you are required to be kind to everyone and to be unkind when you are aware of the pain of others is to be disconnected from the teaching of your moral code. The ubiquity of being and learning is not something taught. It is the opening act of discovery, the ongoing looking to find out what interests you and what compels you beyond inactive necessity to press forward into the next moment of your life. Religion is also another interesting fascination. Religion wants to be ubiquitous by definition. You are always to be thinking of God and sin and your soul and redemption and doing the right thing in every moment. Those are all good things, but perhaps unrealistic in that we are all flawed and human and not godlike. And that's the point of it all, to keep you in place, looking up, trembling down just a bit in a presence that is greater than you, but perhaps not always kinder than you. How then do we explain the various strains of gods and beliefs and demons and faiths that surround us? Which ubiquity belongs to us, is genuine and confirmed and verifiable? And what do we do as intelligent, educated human beings when there is more than one place to celebrate the created greatness beyond us? How do we square worldviews that bend away from us without condemning the other person for not seeing and believing in the world as we do? Vision is important. Believing beyond the self, believing in something other than yourself, is often vital for the maturation of empathy and kindness in adulthood. Children can afford to be petty and mean because they need to learn the difference in reactions in the adults who lovingly surround them to correct them. But what about the ubiquitous adult who never made it out of the bassinet to live a life of functional conflict and the ongoing danger of an ill-measured life? Because that's what living is all about. Dealing with ubiquitous threats and dashed hopes and crushed dreams. Anyone can be joyous and unbridled when the world is spinning on your side. But the real person, the ordinary person, the regular mind, the really distributed person in the world who is able to cope with twisting and condemnation and the damnation of the unholy, is the real ubiquity we need to chase in distribution. Because what that person is offering is a salvation from the self, an unbinding from the ritual, and a release of the true mind of the soul that, when unencumbered by punishment and despair, is free to rise and envelop the world with love. Thank you for listening. Be a human mean.